Welcome to A Shot Between the Reels. My name is Dan, and over on this side...
My name is Brendan.
Hello, Brendan.
Hello, Dan.
Now, you're on a different screen today. What's it like being this side of the kitchen?
It's nice, this side of the kitchen. There's a bit more breathable space around me. I'm not backed into the corner. I can see a little bit of more the real estate of the kitchen. It's nice.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Very exciting times. This is how we do it on A Shot Between the Reels. We change the camera around sometimes. Right, brilliant. We have got a film to have a frank discussion about tonight, haven't we, Brendan?
We do definitely indeed.
I was very excited to watch this one. I'm thinking that you were too.
Yes, definitely. It's fair to say that we are both big fans of the first film that was brought out, which this is a sequel to.
Yes, big fans. So, Brendan, tell us, what is the name of tonight's or today's movie review?
Today's movie review, Dan, is on Borat, a subsequent movie film.
Borat Subsequent Moviefilm hit our screens for Prime Video. So if you've got Prime Video, have at it, enjoy. Now, we haven't seen Borat for a while. The original Borat film, I can't remember when that came out. I've not even looked it up.
I think it's probably like, I want to say it's more like early, is it potentially even early 2000s? Like 2010?
I think it's probably like, well, let's look it up.
I want to guess at like 07, but potentially
07 feels good to me.
Potentially after
that. 06, oof, hit the post. But it was November, so at the end of 06, there you go.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yes. Now, we find Borat, he's basically been punished, hasn't he, at the start of this film for what he'd done in the other film, basically. But the Kazakhstan government have got a special job for him to do, to go back to America. Is this right? Yeah?
Yes, this is correct. So he's tasked with delivering a bribe to the now president of America. Well, he's basically saying the guy that's kind of in charge in Kazakhstan says that he doesn't like the fact that Trump's in bed with kind of all of the other people in the world, and he's like making cozy with everyone, but not with him. And he's like, you need to deliver a bribe to America, so they try to get cozy with me as well. It's as ridiculous as it sounds. But,
so because of what Borat did in the first film, they ended up being blacklisted effectively by America, and now they're trying to win favour back. Now, the plan is to send the celebrity monkey,
who's also a porno star as well.
Celebrity monkey from Kazakhstan as a gift.
Yeah.
Now, they initially wanted to send it to Trump, but they couldn't get access to Trump, so they went for Vice President Mike Pence. So just before Borat goes, we see that he finds that he has a daughter that he hasn't met.
Yeah.
Or didn't really know about.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, how far do we want to get into this story?
I think that's...
Basically, the monkey is no longer an option as a gift.
No.
The daughter takes the place.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the plot, yeah?
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
So, let's go for our review star rating. Brendan, pray tell, what is your star rating for Borat Subsequent Moviefilm?
My star rating is 3 star.
3 stars. Okay, my star rating for this film is 3 stars. There we go.
Okay.
We're in sync. Our minds have connected. 3 stars. Now, Borat, the first film, 5-star masterpiece. Okay. Now that dizzying height, one of the greatest comedy films ever made.
Yeah.
Which I think we agree with. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high standard to kind of get anywhere near.
Absolutely.
I don't think a 3-star film is necessarily a failure here. For me, it was just great to see Borat back.
Absolutely.
And for the moments that really work, oh boy, isn't it good? Like just to have those great moments.
It's great. In the moments where it's great, and I've made a good list of moments where I was laughing really hard. I think it's like you're right. It's always trying to approach what it's already done, but it doesn't tire the formula too much, which is also interesting. We'll get into that, but I think it's definitely funny. Yeah, definitely, and it's still a recommendation at 3 stars. I would agree.
Yes, of course, it's definitely worth your time. It's worth watching the first one if you haven't done that.
Oh, 100%.
Get in on that. First of all, there is no coincidence here of the timing for this film coming out.
Absolutely.
So it is right just before the US election, and Sacha Baron Cohen, who is the creator of this Borat character, clearly has an agenda against Trump and wants to highlight some of the sort of absolute nonsense that seems to be happening.
Well, I mean, he more or less thanks Trump for the fact that this film came out. I think he came out and said that, which is great.
Amazing.
But yeah, so there's that.
Yeah.
Agreed. It's very topical. If there's a time to watch it now. We'll probably get into a bit discussing various jokes. So I think if you're even remotely interested and you haven't, go and watch and then come back.
Go, but come back. Brilliant. So let's get into it. So I think probably where this film doesn't quite work is probably it's almost a bit too ridiculous at times. Now, it feels strange saying that because the first film is utterly bananas. But there's something not quite nailed on I think it's the coherence of the story. It feels like the story's not that important, really.
I mean, my argument was going to be that I think it feels too scripted, I think.
Yeah.
And the magic of the first one is there's a lot of those interviews, right? So a lot of moments. And also at that point, no one knew who Borat was. And so going into America, it gives it the upper hand as a film because he's unknown. He goes in and either people realize it's ridiculous, but they play along, which I love, or they have no idea.
Yeah.
And it can be even worse, but genuinely hilarious. Yeah. So
we have less of that, don't we? There's less of the sort of like, I'm going to see this person to get help or whatever. There was nowhere near the number of those.
No.
For sure. Part of me wonders, obviously, partway through the film, coronavirus happens. And that affords an absolutely amazing sort of few scenes because of that. But I do wonder whether they had plans for other things.
Oh, do you think so? Maybe.
It's possible, isn't it? It's possible because they must have had to have changed plans. And I think you see that at the end because there's some really bad green screen going on at the end where clearly they had to. I think they must have had to change the story to a point.
I think
because the green screen is so awful.
It's really bad. Yeah, I think I know the one you mean, and it's really bad.
It's almost like I get it's part of the charm, almost, or like that the film's like it's low quality.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's not
that- that's
completely
the
ruined
part.
by the fact that it's the type of film that you're watching again, so
Yeah,
you can kind of get over that, I think, because of the comedy
yeah,
value of it. But
yeah, 100%. So I do wonder whether actually they had to kind of change the story partway through.
I mean, if that's the case, they still did a really good job with
Yeah,
working around that. I think
100%.
even
I
so.
love the fact that, like, at the start they play on the fact that people know who Borat is now, and they're all like trying to chase him through the streets, trying to get his autograph and stuff like that.
I particularly like at that moment as well. He says, "Maybe it's the suit," and he just takes the bottom of the suit off and walks around, and then they're still chasing him.
Yeah, it's amazing. But it's a great idea that basically he has to dress up every time he goes out in different sort of disguises. Is great. I kind
Which
of
isn't that amazing because he's already dressing up, and then
yeah,
he's dressing up on top of that as well.
yeah,
Great.
it's good. Yes, I think obviously I think the main thread of this story is kind of the relationship with the daughter, and Borat almost having kind of, he's kind of redeemed. It's almost like a redemption story.
I was gonna say it's like a redemption arc. It does feel like one.
Yeah, and because
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to find redemption from kind of obviously he was in the gulag before, but yeah, he kind of reconnects and kind of yeah. That story is genuinely good, actually. It's
I think so.
genuinely nice
It
to
is.
see
It
that.
is. It has a heartwarming end. I think
Yeah,
special props to Maria Bakalola's playing his daughter. I think she's really good. Considering I don't know if you'd heard of her before, but I hadn't heard of her before.
no,
And her performance, I think, to act along him, he's basically at this point we can safely say he's pretty a comedy legend, really,
yeah,
isn't he? For kind of what he's done, he's a good caliber of actor, and to act along someone like that, I think is really tough. And
yeah,
then still give a great performance, and
100%. Yeah,
she really feels like she fits in with his dynamic really
yeah,
well.
really good. They do. They feel it's natural, doesn't it? And that's what's really good.
Yeah.
What is crazy about Borat and what Sacha Baron Cohen does, and then bringing someone else in with him to do that, is that yes, they're acting, but it's in real life situations where people don't always know that they're acting,
Yeah.
which that feels like much higher stakes to me.
Yeah.
'Cause
Definitely.
if you don't nail it in when you're filming, that's gone.
Yeah, that opportunity is blown, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can only edit so much.
Mm.
And I imagine they do have to edit very, very carefully what they get.
Yeah.
But yes, let's talk about some of these very excellent scenes. Brendan, did you want to go first?
So I got quite a few written down, so I'll go with a few, and then you can kind of go with a few, and we see if we agree.
See where we get.
I said to you before we hopped on the call that I particularly loved that he always refers to Donald Trump as McDonald Trump. It got a laugh out of me every time I heard it.
The whole film, McDonald Trump.
It's because it's the delivery as well. He's so kind of
Yeah, it's just like that's his name.
it's just like deadpan. That's just what he calls it. That's brilliant. I love those animated. There's like little animated stories of Donald Trump and Melania.
Oh my goodness, it's the one where like he dances with Melania by grabbing her vagina, which is just absolutely. I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying that, to be honest. So
It's
fun.
also the description of him becoming turgid, which like I genuinely I was in tears watching it. I was like, this is so good.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. There are some of the moments are truly great. And another one, special mention to, is definitely the period dance. That was that was unbelievable. And what's genius about that scene, I was thinking back to it, is they seem to have targeted the demographic perfectly, because they got there were a lot of old people there, but then there were a lot of quite young people that would likely have not even seen the first Borat film.
Yeah.
So there was really no chance of them being recognized.
Yeah, hitting that sweet spot almost.
Yeah.
And like they're people who have got a lot of money and live a very different life to most people, and probably conservative in their, political viewpoint.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that moment when as soon as she says, "Oh, I'm bleeding," or whatever, and like he's like, "Yes, we can do that." It's just unbelievable.
You don't even know what you're going to be presented with. You know it's going to be bad.
Yeah,
it does not disappoint. But
no,
what about you? Any?
Yeah, I mean that is amazing. There's also the sequence with the daughter. I mean, all of the scenes that she has with the babysitter are good. They're really good. And she's kind of on that journey of discovering that this book that she's got about being a woman is just full of lies, particularly when she opens up the book to talk about a woman not being allowed to touch her vagina because of the teeth, and the picture of her being eaten, or the woman eating herself, like being eaten by the vagina. I mean, it's just like unbelievable. And then subsequently turning up to this meeting, I can't remember what it's of, but it's women, and she stands up having been to the toilet to touch herself for the first time. Oh my goodness! As she's talking, it's just like where this is going.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
The reactions of the women also are particularly great.
Yeah, and they're the kind of moments we were talking about earlier, where you see like genuine people responding to what they're seeing, and we're in on
shock
the joke. Like being in on the joke is great.
Agreed, and that's where the magic, I think, comes from in these films, especially in the first, and in those moments where they do manage to capture it in this film.
Yeah,
it's great. It's really great.
When coronavirus happens and the lockdowns kick in, I don't know how Sacha Baron Cohen did this, or like thought to do this.
Yeah,
it seems like he stumbles upon a bloke in the street and convinces him to let him stay with him and his mate.
Yeah.
Whilst in lockdown.
Yeah.
That, first of all, I can't believe that he's done that. That's just unbelievable. In character during lockdown.
It's great.
And managed to have cameras filming it. I'm like, how has he done that? How?
Yeah.
And then what happens afterwards? So he ends up going to this kind of this kind of coronavirus is a hoax.
Yeah.
/ sort of pro-Trump kind of rally thing.
Yeah.
And he ends up singing on this stage this awful song, just so bad. The stuff that people are, and he's getting this crowd to sing along and saying some really horrendous stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's hitting you right in the awkward moment, isn't it? That awkward feeling of I shouldn't be laughing.
No, but then
this is so goddamn funny.
Yeah.
And it's right in that, and I think that's where Sacha Baron Cohen wants you.
Yeah.
He wants you right in that place.
He loves that. He's the very definition, I think, at many times of awkward comedy, right?
Yeah.
It's all about awkward comedy. And that, I was reading some interesting news articles coming off the back of this, and that especially with you saying about him meeting that guy and then going back to his house, because I was thinking the same thing. I thought, man, this is crazy. How did they even do this? And then he said, I thought it was very kind, really. He said that these people, even though their views are horrible, he said they genuinely are lovely people. It's just that they've been fed lies.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice to hear his opinion on it, because he actually had a chance to he's basically living with these people for a set period of time with them without really their knowledge of what the heck was going on. I don't know how in they are on everything, but they do seem genuine, and they are, even though the things they say are absolutely horrendous and what is believed, but then it's actually kind of an interesting think piece, I guess, in some sort of way, because as comical as it is, and it totally is, it's interesting hearing him say that, because he genuinely spent time with them closely.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you've seen it, but I think today, when I was on Twitter, Sacha Baron Cohen shared video footage of people basically storming the stage on that scene.
No.
And literally having to shut himself in a caravan, the caravan that they were using for filming, I guess, and hold on to the door, because there was people with guns.
Whoa.
Yeah, genuinely, it's proper crazy. Proper
That's
crazy.
bad.
There's literally this guy with like a proper gun, like machine gun, and started shouting whilst he was up on the stage, in full costume.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then started chasing him off. Proper crazy.
I mean, doing that for comedy alone, you got to give props to the man.
Yeah.
Because I could never do something like that, but I think that's amazing.
Definitely.
Crazy.
Yeah. We talked about Donald Trump. I've got to say as well, when he goes in to offer the bribe to Mike Pence, and he's shouting Michael Penis. It's so good. So good.
It was that made news, didn't it, in America, that they said this random guy stormed in and they didn't know who it was, and no one knew who that was. No one knew until this film has come out, and people saw the trailer and went, "Oh, so it was
Borat."
Baron Cohen in makeup twice."
Yeah. Crazy. So good. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any other moments you want to pick out.
I had a few more that I think might be worth saying about it's awful. Again, it's one of those awful scenes that I know probably shouldn't be laughing. But when he walks in full supposed Jew makeup.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about this. Yeah, to talk to the Holocaust survivor. Oh my goodness.
So one thing that should be noted, even though I laughed my head off when I saw him in this full ridiculous makeup, her reaction, again, the same probably with the babysitter, is amazing. And I actually really love, quite interestingly, that they, whether or not they plan this, or it just so happened to be that the people from the more diverse backgrounds end up being some of the kindest people that he meets, the loveliest people.
Genuinely kind. Yeah.
And her reaction to him, how she just sees it not as
actually beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, not an opportunity to rush him out. She embraces him, talks to him, and then hugs him.
Yeah, she's basically like, touch my nose and stuff like that, isn't she? Like, she gives him a hug and like, really kind.
It's really lovely. It's so good to see. And
the way he is dressed when he walks in is so offensive. It's so offensive.
It's really offensive. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's really terrible.
And I mean, he is of Jewish heritage, so he knows it's offensive.
Yeah. And he still makes a joke. He does still make a joke out of it at the end, which is great. But I think her her reaction just got me completely. I loved it, and I
Very,
love that they kept it in,
yeah,
whether it works or not. They kept it in, and it was
yeah,
good. I genuinely loved that scene.
yeah.
And probably most of the other ones you've already mentioned, like the woman's manual, the door, the daughter's book, being great. So that stuff for me.
Yeah, and then obviously it kind of culminates up to the Rudy Giuliani weird scene where,
Weird interview.
yeah, that he's
Really weird
basically
interview.
like flirting with her,
Yeah.
and yes, who knows what might have happened if Borat hadn't stormed in that hotel room.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
It's a bit creepy.
it's bad. It's very creepy, I think. But maybe it highlights exactly what they were hoping it to highlight. What do you feel, Dan, didn't work? What marks it down for you?
I think, I mean, it might just be high expectations, partly. I think actually your point about being too scripted, it might not be that it's too scripted. It might be more that it had a tighter focus of what it was trying to do. So I think before in the Borat seats, like all of the Borat sketches, almost,
Mm-hmm.
he's basically trying to show people, you know, bring out the truth of what these people are like, and show you what they're actually thinking and feeling, and or just making fun of these people.
Yes.
But I think in this film, he's got a tighter focus of what he's trying to do, and perhaps that maybe means that you don't get some of the comedy elements that you would have had because he's got more of a story arc. So yeah, I think that maybe that's it. So you probably don't laugh as much. I think when the laughs come, they're great. But compared to the first film, I think that's part of the issue. It's kind of overshadowed by what is a masterpiece, basically. A film that is just laugh a minute, basically. So
Yeah.
that,
I mean,
I
there
think
are
probably it.
so many of those moments in the first one, I would agree, and they don't come nearly as often for the second one.
No.
Even though there are some great moments, as we've illustrated, and I was laughing a lot at those moments, there just wasn't enough of them quite for me to mark it high enough. The only other thing that I put was there's probably not enough Borat, weirdly, for me, I don't think.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, there's a lot of scenes where he's not actually even there.
Yeah.
Like,
So because he gives such a good performance and because he's so funny, you're always kind of waiting. I felt I was waiting for him to kind of come back, and that's not to say a disservice to anyone else that's on display here, carrying acting, and Maria's doing a great job in her own right. I think it's a big deal for her to be in this film. She has those whole scenes basically where she's just carrying the entire performance, and I think it is really good. I shouldn't understate that. It's just when you're titling your film Borat, I think I probably would have had just a little bit more, but
there's an element, I guess, with a sequel, you try new things, don't you? Do something different, so maybe that's what they're going for. I think as probably, but like what we've already said a bit as well, is we had probably with the babysitter and certainly with the people at the synagogue, people who didn't respond really in a funny way, that were actually genuinely nice.
Yeah.
So all of those, like those kind of scenes, they're not funny scenes, really.
No, and the babysitter, I think she said that she thought she was being filmed for a documentary for women that were being given away against their will. When you look back at that, you think, how does she not really know? Because it's so ridiculous.
It's the ball and chain, isn't it? It's like
but then it makes sense. Her reactions again are so genuine and kind, and she comes across really lovely. Like she just wants to help.
And not judging either, really.
No.
She's not judging Borat, even when he's like, "Here's her water bowl."
Yeah.
Like, here we drink water out of a glass.
He does
You know, he's not
everything.
saying you're an animal. Why would you do that to someone?
No.
Which is genuinely kind, actually.
Yeah.
So yes, I think we're probably, yeah, I think we're there. The other thing I wanted to say is that if you haven't seen any of the original Borat sketches from the Ali G show, they must be on YouTube somewhere, or if not, find the Ali G show that was on Channel 4 back in the day and watch those sketches, because those sketches are incredible.
I believe there's even a bonus interview of Ali G with Donald Trump as well, which
he does a Trump interview ages ago. Yeah. And I think Trump kind of is onto him on that one. Yes.
Trump's a con man, so I guess.
Yeah, takes one to know one. Yes. So, search those out. I saw some on Facebook earlier today, and I was just like, oh man, these are so good. And it wasn't even like the tip of the iceberg. There was more. So yeah, search it out. Check out more Borat. Borat is definitely the best film that Sacha Baron Cohen has done. By a long way, I would say. I'm not a massive Bruno fan. The Ali G film is good, but it's nonsense, really.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's a recommendation for Borat Subsequent Moviefilm, and check it out on Prime Video.
Wowaweewah.
Brilliant. There we go. So, Brendan, it's time to say goodbye. It's got to that point in our time together where we have to say farewell. But
another time now.
It's time. We'll be back again. That's the good thing.
No.
Yeah. So, farewell, viewers. We'll be back soon. Bye.